Today we're making the Coquette Princess crochet top. This is for the sewing portion. So we're gonna go to my sewing station in my office, set the vibes, light a candle, and get ready to make some cute stuff. So I'm just gathering my materials, and you're going to need, again, a crochet top. If you want to make this exact design, check out my tutorial for that. Otherwise, any top that you have and like will do. You're going to need some cute ballerina-esque coquette, pink, cream, white, like trims, lacy, florally. I got these all from Joann's, so definitely check out their selection. Then you're going to need, of course, some sewing thread, one that kind of blends in with the color of the top that you're using, and a sewing machine. I haven't hand sewn trims onto tops like this. I only use a sewing machine, so this tutorial will be for a machine. Begin by threading your machine, however it's supposed to be threaded. I love this machine for sewing on crochet. It works really well with thick layers of like multiple fabrics, and it's made my life so much easier. I just recently upgraded this machine to this machine about a week or so ago, and it has literally changed my life. Okay, next we're going to start with the cups. So I'm choosing this trim, and if needed, you can use a glue to kind of secure it prior to sewing. You can also opt for these sewing clips, which I love and are very handy when securing things in place when you're sewing, just so everything kind of stays nice. So make sure everything's aligned, and we're using a straight stitch. And we're going to begin by sewing on the outer edge of that trim and cup. And I always begin and end every single row that we sew by going forward and then backwards, and then continue on to secure it. So make sure you do that at the end and the beginning of every single time you straight stitch something onto your top. So once we get to the top here where the strap is, I go forward and backward a few times to make sure it's nice and secure up where the strap is, since that's going to be pulled when you wear it. I don't want it to come apart. Then arrange your top to begin sewing on the opposite side on that outer edge of the trim like we did the first time. Once you get to the bottom, cut the trim, and I like to leave the trim fully attached at its length, and then I cut when I get to the end of where I want to finish. I just think that makes it easier. So secure the end here, and then we are going to turn the top and sew the bottom part of that trim. And then we are going to rotate it again. We're going to sew on the inner edge of that trim to fully secure it to the cup, because when you wear it and the cup is filled, you want it to be nice and flat. So I finished that there, and then we're going to cut the thread and move on to the next part, which is the exact same thing on the other side of the cup. Pinkies up. Now we're moving on to the middle portion of the top here, and I'm beginning with this trim. And so for this first trim, you're going to want to make sure it's aligned where the cup meets that first row, that double crochet row. So make sure that's nice and aligned. You can glue it if need be, and we're going to straight stitch that trim right where the bottom of the cup meets the first double crochet row. And go slowly, you're not in a rush. Make sure it's nice and aligned, and so things don't get wonky and it's nice and straight. I finished, I cut the excess, and we are going backwards and forwards to secure the end, lifting up our needle and cutting the thread. That's how the first one looks. Then we're moving on to this next one, just a beige kind of like lacy trim. And we are putting that where the side of the top meets that, the middle portion. And I'm just going about a row below where that first trim ends. And so we're just sewing the trim to that row. You can kind of see where I place it. Right there, yeah. make sure that's aligned, and then straight stitch all the way down the top. Okay, we finished this one, and now we're going to move on to this satiny pink trim, and you can also see where I'm placing it about a row below the beige trim. I just kind of want to make sure most of the crochet part is covered, so I just kind of evenly place the trims along that middle portion of the top. And then same thing, we're straight stitching. Make sure you lift up that trim above it, otherwise it could get snagged and sewn onto it. So same thing we've been doing, finishing off the rows, going backwards and forwards to secure it. It's looking so cute. We're moving on to this last trim here, and we are just aligning it on that last row of the middle portion of the top. Same thing we've been doing with all the rest. Straight stitching all the way down. So I'm just cleaning up the edges here, and what we're going to do now is sew the sides of those trims down. So I'm just straight stitching up and down the sides to kind of secure it fully to the top so it's not like flapping around. I like to do this. So we're going to straight stitch up, and then we're going to rotate and do it again back down. I like to do 2 kind of layers of that to make sure it's really nice and on there. And then after that, we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side of the top. Here I am just going over and doing a straight stitch across some of these layers so that they kind of lay flat and nice on the top. So I'm doing it on these first 3 because I want it to just not be sticking out when you're wearing it. I just think aesthetically it looks nicer, but that's just like a personal choice of mine. So moving on, this is the last thing we're going to be doing, is sewing this decorative like faux pearl trim, and I'm just lining it up with that first trim we did on the kind of border of that, so it gets nice and covered, and we have this pretty like decorative trim covering it. So after that, snip all those loose ends off, clean the edges up, make sure it looks really nice, and there you have it, the Coquette Princess crochet top. Let me know if you try this out, and be sure to tag me so I can see it. Alright, see y'all in the next one. Bye.